I call it a gimmick, but
That's fair.
in this case, I do wonder what they're going to bring to the table. Both these teams have some interesting compositions, right? Like Cowana Gaming might play Ret Rogue if that's going to be their new counter for the mage teams, because, well, what do you know? Bakka's going to come in on Elemental Shaman. If Creed can play this composition at a high level, they might be able to dominate all of Europe, and this is going to be one of their first tests, is if they can beat the Ret Warrior, which is a matchup I think they're actually favored in.
Well, this should be interesting. Yeah, I mean, this is basically the best Ret Warrior in Europe. Cowana Gaming, they just play this composition at such a high level. Normally, you'd expect the Elemental Shaman Fire Mage to win a matchup like this. This is kind of the specialty, right? Playing into 2 melee as that LE Fire Mage. Really, really strong. Big damage coming in. Bakka is a heavy hitter on that Elemental Shaman. So Cara, Nerdrage, they're going to have to be very careful. Saza as well. Basically, the main problem here for Cowana Gaming is if you go after Saza, Bakka can do whatever he wants. And if you go after Bakka, Saza can do whatever he wants. And there's 2 high threat targets. Both Saza with his combustion and Bakka with all that Elemental Shaman damage is going to be able to put out a huge hit. Tana's going to have to be ready for it. This could easily be the Divine Shield. Cara getting low. Throws in a big off yield. Good polymorph coming in from Saza. And it looks like Tana will finally be free from that crowd control. Cara holds on without really having to trade out any defensive cooldowns, but you can just see the damage that is output. Saza taking a little bit of burst right now. Definitely doesn't want to overstay his welcome in the open. Drainer in the backline, just throwing in some heals. For Creed, it's going to be about just running away, essentially, setting up your one-shot, going for the one-shot, all while maintaining Drainer's mana. If they can do that, that's kind of their ticket for survival. For Cowana Gaming, they have to make sure they're surviving those one-shots as long as possible, putting out the pressure. If they can stop Drinks from Drainer, that would be big as well. And that's kind of how both these teams want to play this one.
Yeah, both teams kind of playing for the long game here. And, I mean, mana is going to go in favor of Tana inevitably, but that's going to take a while before Drainer is out of mana, because this matchup just allows him to drink a lot, and you don't have that much time if you're the Ret Warrior. You know, at any point, Bakka, he can just drop that Sky Fury Totem, get a big Stormkeeper, get a lot of Lava Burst procs, and you can just erase somebody. And that's the scary thing as well with Saza as well. When he's free and he's allowed to just spam reset his combustion, he's always going to have that, and eventually he's going to solo CC and just be able to blow somebody up. So definitely a durable comp here, and it's kind of the strength of this comp is that you have those 2 threats that can both one-shot. And for the Ret Warrior, I mean, they have to play the long game before they can land a kill on either of these targets, and it's going to be through booming Drainer most likely, unless they get like a random one-shot, but it doesn't really happen that often. Usually these players are very coordinated, and they're tracking all of the damage cooldowns that the enemy team has to offer, so they're usually pretty quick at responding. But we have seen some one-shots, and we're going to see here, right now Bakka could get one-shotted, but Cara is going to get Dragon's Breath on his wings, getting sheeped, getting controlled here by Saza, and he's going to force Cara to go after him. He has his Alter Chime up, and that's one of the main objectives defensively there for Creed. Just don't allow Cara and Nerdrage to connect at the same time when they have those wings up. And now you're going to have that breathing opportunity where you can go for some crowd control, set something up, and try to get a one-shot going.
All right, let's see if they can get the one-shot going here. Cara's the target. Tana's in a Hex. This is a devastating situation to be as Cowana Gaming. Lava Burst lobbed in from Bakka, getting a couple procs with the Shield of Vengeance is soaking the hits. And Cara looks like he is going to begin to restabilize as he is trying to chase down Saza. Drainer needs to make sure that he maintains his mana. Definitely the Shaman gonna have an edge over the Holy Paladin now after the changes, so that's something I'm looking to. Aside from a really big Stormkeeper hit here from Bakka, I really don't think their kill potential is too high before dampening. On the side of Cowana Gaming, I want to say that it's probably almost impossible to kill before dampening outside of Divine Toll. So these are the big kind of Covenant abilities that can swing the fight. It's really their only win condition before dampening. And that's what I'm really trying to focus on at the moment. So here's the Stormkeeper. This is the situation where Creed could net a kill. They've isolated the Warrior. They're zapping him, but they're not getting enough damage out on them. Maybe the Sky Fury Totem got killed off. Bakka, now the Lava Burst Lottery is coming out over onto Cara, but the Earthen Wall's down, allowing Tana to recover and begin to heal through it. They're swapping over to Bakka. They don't want to overextend too far, so an interesting change of target here. Stun locking Bakka, using both stuns on Bakka. Drainer's just going to respect that and trade the sacrifice. It's a bit premature. But they've got so many defensive cooldowns that maybe it's better to be safe than sorry. Nerdrage now bladestorming over to Saza, swapping back to the mage. And I think Drainer is not trying to go for a drink at the moment. We've seen Earth Elemental lobbed in. I wonder why the Earth Elemental wasn't utilized onto Drainer here. Tana is using Fleshcraft, trying to an immune and Hammer of Justice. And Drainer's struggling a bit to keep Saza going. Big heal comes through. Tana getting hexed up. No Stormkeeper, though, for Bakka. Unlikely we see Cara take too much damage, unless they can load up more here. Cara is going to respect, actually, Trinket the Combustion. So if Saza can split that Combustion up with the Stormkeeper, each one of these cooldowns really needs a trade. And then they can get twice as many cooldowns if they split them up, or if they use them at the same time, then Divine Shield nets 2 for 1. It's going to be way more efficient. But these Stormkeepers have not been that impressive. I actually wonder what Legendary Bakka's running. I'm trying to check.
How dare you?
Yeah, he's not using he's not using Equilibrium. I feel like in this matchup you have to use Equilibrium. He's using Bone Shatter Treads with when you get Lava Burst damage. Like, this is a consistent damage legendary. It's kind of more like the dampening oriented elemental legendary, whereas elemental Equilibrium is like the big Lava Burst lottery, just KOs you instantly, and that's super effective against Ret Paladins. I'm very surprised to see Bakka not running that one.
Yeah, definitely some adaptations that could be made in the future, but we'll see how it plays out for Creed. I just feel like for the side of Creed, they kind of need dampening. Maybe not. I mean, Nerdrage going down to 10% health. Very explosive composition coming in from both these teams. The thing is, pre-dampening, if both teams trade out their defensive cooldowns during these kind of one-shot moments, then they could go down. But at the same time, they all have to be very careful, because if they don't trade, they could just die immediately. So that's where kind of the stress of this matchup comes in. You always have to be aware of these big one-shot cooldowns for both sides. As dampening gets higher and higher, though, the consistent damage from Cara and Nerdrage, as well as Bakka and Saza, are going to make the game increasingly unstable. And that's where teams kind of falter. They overlap defensive cooldowns. They use defensive cooldowns a little bit too early, and it becomes really scary. Big damage on Nerdrage right now. Bakka in the backline throwing in huge lava bursts. Drainer sitting down for a drink, completely and totally maintaining and recovering his mana, and this is just looking better and better for Creed. Same time, though, Cara and Nerdrage, they're going after Bakka. He's very out of position from Drainer. Could get taken down if he gets caught into a Hammer of Justice. He's trying to just avoid a stun at all costs, essentially. Big Divine Toll coming in from Cara. Looks like Bakka should be able to hold on, though. Look at Drainer's positioning, just so far away in the midfield. Bakka's going to cross and basically just drag Nerdrage and Cara through Saza. That's exactly what you want to do. Big combustion here on Cara with a lightning lasso on Nerdrage. Saza and Bakka not even hitting the same target there, but still putting out a decent amount of pressure.
Yeah, definitely. And unfortunately, nice reflect there by Nerdrage on that Dragon's Breath sheep there. Saza not going to be able to land that one, but they also have that Hex. And that's another thing about the Ellie Mage in this matchup. The only one who can do anything about those Hexes is Tana. And if you Hex Tana, well, there's nobody who can dispel it. So if you spend too much effort going after Saza, you can land Hexes on Tana with your Ellie Shaman. And if you're going after the Ellie Shaman, well, the Mage can Dragon's Breath sheep. So you're definitely going to get crowd control no matter what if you are Tana in this matchup. And of course, it's going to be a lot of scary situations. This is a scary situation right now for Bakka, actually trading out the Astral Shift here, respecting the crowd control there on to Drainer. Good trade there, just trading out that Astral Shift. And I think that was actually for a Wings proc though for Cara, so Cara's going to be pretty happy with that. Now they're looking to pressure Saza here once again. And I mean, for both of these teams, they're just trying to reset their damage right now. Saza actually Alta times back, links over to Tana, sheeps and gets it. Nicely done right there. And I'm actually not sure what happened to that sheep right there. I think he got Sanctuary. I'm not sure actually what dispelled it, but Tana not going to be getting crowd controlled as a result. And now Tana is on DR, so he can do whatever he wants here. Throw out Purges, be offensive, go for Lava Bursts, reposition, go drink, can literally do anything his Shaman heart desires here, and they're still going to keep going here after Nerdrage. Nerdrage going to be that target, and I suspect that even Creed are going to need a decent amount of dampening here before they can kill because of those Word of Glories. But here comes Combustion. This is a big hit here for Saza. Nerdrage is just going to get absolutely clapped there. Big damage from that Combustion, and game number 1 is going to go to Creed, and this is the question that we had: can they perform on the Mage Ellie?
I feel like this is like heart attack matchup. You're just Yeah, everything's fine. Everything's fine. Everything's fine. Oh, what just happened? I don't even understand what just happened. Like, you've got to just be prepared for this huge burst damage. You're basically 100% HP or you're 0% HP against classes like Retribution Paladin and Elemental Shaman. So when they're going up against each other, you're going to see that. Here they're thinking, all right, no one's in crowd control. We're the side of Cowana Gaming. We're hitting the mage. Everything's good. We're having a nice time. We've got Divine Shield. We got Spirit Link Totem. It's only like 23% dampening. Probably still got at least 4 more minutes to go. We're in a good spot. I'm just going to hit the mage. I'm in defensive stance. My name is Nerdrage. Oh, Lightning Bolt hit me. Oh, another one hit me. That one kind of tickles. Not a big deal. I'm going to stun the mage and keeps hitting the mage. Combustion's available, and Saz is like, okay, I have my hardest hitting cooldown. Your healer's in a polymorph. I'm going to press that. Lightning Lasso, Combust. Cara just not ready for it. No medallion from Tana, a little bit too late, and they were able to just completely ice out Nerdrage with the combustion. So good coordination. Bakka's build, the advantage that he's running as this is it's going to be more scoreboard damage. So if they want to win on mana and they just want that as a failsafe, then this legendary makes sense. But I think Equilibrium for this matchup would be a bit better. I would still like to see them try it at some point. However, now on the side of Warrior Mage, I feel like Warrior Mage shouldn't win this. Especially if we're playing big maps. Now, maybe they play it again on Hook Point. That could be all right, but for the rest of the series, I almost do think they should try their Rogue Mage at some point. Or Rogue Ret, sorry, not Rogue Mage. Rogue Ret. So used to saying Rogue Mage. Ret Rogue or Rogue Ret. I think that might be a better option for them to get pressure out against the Elemental Shaman than the Warrior.
Yeah, definitely a lot of options, and I wonder how the rest of this series will go as well in terms of, like, I mean, kind of length, kind of back to what you were saying, Super T's, like, that's got to take such a huge amount of mental capacity as a player. You know, you're having these really long, drawn-out games that are sort of like cookie cutter, and then at a moment's notice, they could just do a complete 180. Like, that's got to be kind of difficult to stay at that level of focus for such a long time.
Yeah, and you're gonna have to do it game after game too. Like, that's just game one.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you're already tripping, and it's game one. You're gonna have to do that. If you want to play Ret Warrior, no, I mean, like, no matter what, I think Cowana Gaming is going deep dampening. They're gonna play 10-minute plus games every game, and they have to just not trip at all the whole time. They're gonna get just huge lava bursts lobbed at them, combustions thrown at them, kited around in circles, and they're gonna have to make sure that they don't trip up at all. It's gonna be a grueling series, and this is kind of devastating for Cowana because having lost yesterday to Method, they're not in a good position to really make top 4. And then if they don't beat Creed, I feel like they're almost guaranteed to not have a shot to make it into top 4. So this is really tough for them. They've got to battle against their own sort of internal fight of, like, well, we can't even qualify at this point anyways. Like, it's going to be really hard for them, and this is a really tough and frustrating matchup. Like, I hate playing whenever I'm playing and I'm playing Melee Cleave and I see Ellie Mage, I just want to leave. This is like the most annoying difficult comp. Like, this is the most difficult comp in the game as a Melee Cleave, because you're just constantly just like frozen like a deer in headlights. Like, lava burst? We're 100% HP. Oh no, you're dead. Like, I don't like it. I don't like it. So I can imagine.
I just want to leave the game.
Yeah, Cowana Gaming are playing with a lot more pressure than just a couple of points on the ladder.
It's true.
So it's going to be pretty tough.
Man. Yeah, you don't make it sound fun at all, Super T's, but hopefully Cowana Gaming is in a better mental spot than Super T's would be in this situation. We are seeing them lock in Hook Point here. Creed going to be playing that Ellie Fire Mage once again. Cowana Gaming locking in. Got about 40 seconds left, but I mean, you're absolutely right, Sid. They're like 7th right now in standings, so it's going to be very, very difficult for them to try and turn that around in their favor to get into that top 4, but I don't even know if they could. But we'll see what they can do here within this series. But Creed is, like we touched on before we started here with this series, doing very, very well in the circuit so far. Earlier in the cups, you know, when we saw them just kind of come out of nowhere, when I was talking to this team and they're like, yeah, we didn't really even expect to make it to top 8. And now here they are, very closely following skill capped in the circuit, and they are doing pretty strongly so far against a team like Cowana Gaming,
Wow.
a team of veterans and former BlizzCon champions. But here is that comp that they are locking in for game number 2.
I just don't know if I like it. I want to see Niksi on the Assassination Rogue. I feel like that would just give them way more pressure in the matchup overall. I don't know. Maybe the smaller map is going to be enough. I mean, we saw kind of what happened on Creed. Their general game plan is just constantly drag the melee into the open, try to one-shot them, then drag the melee into the open, try to one-shot them. It's just that over and over and over. On Hook Point, that might be harder to pull off, but I don't really think so. I feel like Creed is still going to be able to create the distance that they need on some of the more open parts of Hook Point. And yeah, I think for Cowana Gaming, the thing they need to focus on in the small map in particular is just making sure Drainer isn't drinking. Maybe if they shut that down, that could be a win condition for them. But like Sid said, this is a really tough matchup for the Ret Warrior.
Well, let's see what they can do here, sticking with this comp. So surely they've got enough confidence in it to try and make it work for game number 2, but things are getting pretty sticky right now for Cowana Gaming. Creed could potentially put themselves here on match point. It's a best of 5 series heading into game number 2 here on Hook Point.
Yep, Creed sitting nice and pretty. Cowana on the other end definitely need this win here, and I mean, there's a lot of teams in the standings here who get affected by this result here. If Cowana somehow wins the series, it's going to really shake up the standings for a lot of these squads still trying to make it down there, who are still competing against Cowana. And of course, with Creed already being in such a good spot, they're definitely one of those teams that you kind of want to keep soaking up those points. But gates have opened. We have seen the first setup here. They're going to go after Nerdrage. No combustion being used there. And that's because I believe Tana did use his preemptive earthen wall totem right there. You're going to see it fade in a second there. And so Saza's going to hold on to his combustion for that next cleaner setup a little bit. Bakka did have to use his dwarf racial. Here comes combustion damage actually without any crowd control whatsoever onto Tana. They just kind of pop a rotational combustion here. And Saza, I mean, he's the free wizard, so he's going to be able to do that and just spam out those fireballs, keep resetting it. But for Bakka, he's going to have a much tougher game here, having these melees on him with so much uptime. No real line of sight for him to kind of drag them away to as well. It's going to be tough for him.
Kind of wondering what build Drainer is running, if he's running something to be more mana efficient, because his mana was actually in a really good position all of that last game. And if he can maintain that on Hook Point and not need to drink, then his team could potentially win here. But this is their worst map. As I say that, if Cowana Gaming can't win here on their best map, then definitely it's time to get something else going, get Niksi in on the Rogue, and try something different. They've been getting decent damage onto Bakka throughout game number 2 here. You see him just in Ghost Wolf, running with that Blessing of Freedom, trying to escape the melee DPS, waiting for Saza to get a setup. If they leave the mage open too long, you can get crowd control, but Tana sees that crowd control coming and uses Fleshcraft to immune it. And then hexes up Saza. Now trying to run away. Saza still going for Polymorph. Fishes and finds it. No grounding totem found for Tana. That could be devastating. Cara actually has to run away when Bakka was taking so much damage. That's very unfortunate for the side of Cowana Gaming. However, they will survive. Drainer's just going to drink. I love this positioning by Drainer. Just slip away from the fight while the other team is in disarray and discomfort, trying to just stay alive and regenerate mana, because that is the main win condition for Cowana.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. For Cowana Gaming, it's just going to be about mana. Maybe they could go for a one-shot. It is possible, but Elemental Shamans, Fire Mages, both so durable, and it seems like either one of these targets you go after is the wrong choice. You feel like if you leave a Fire Mage alone, he's just going to go for Dragon's Breath Sheeps. He's going to reset his Combustion. And then if you leave the Elemental Shaman alone, guess what? He can go for Hexes. He gets free Lightning Lassos. It's just a disaster of a matchup. But Cowana Gaming can still win it. Their composition is also very durable and can pack a punch. So we'll see the smaller map. Can they pull it off? Really important series here for Creed as well as Cowana Gaming. Cowana Gaming hasn't been doing too great, but this could be their opportunity to kind of bounce back potentially. For Creed, if they want to solidify their spot in the top 4, they have to overcome Cowana Gaming here. Every single win is going to be a huge impact in their overall standings. And if they could do it in a 3-0 fashion, that would be massive as well. So I think Creed, they have the right composition. I've been really impressed with their overall flexibility as a roster, bringing in some unique comps like the Demon Hunter Fire Mage. They were the first team to actually implement a Demon Hunter in Shadowlands. Nerdrage actually getting blasted down here in the midfield. Going to be trying to cross right now. But yeah, Creed, lots of different comp options. They kind of started off I would say not as jokesters, but playing a composition no one would have really expected. A solo healer protection paladin, but definitely made an impact. And now you can see they have such a solid roster, basically all the meta compositions that you want, and then some. So I was getting a full polymorph, potentially finding some damage here on Nerdrage, but Cara and Nerdrage can be preemptively running. And I just think outside of just an overall massive one-shot that can happen, this game almost requires dampening to end.
Yep, I couldn't agree with you more. I think, I mean, unless somebody, like you mentioned, gets absolutely erased by Red Wings or by an Ellie or Mage one-shot, we're definitely going to dampening. We're going to need a little bit of pressure, especially when we're dealing with these hybrids. You know, hybrids in Shadowlands in general have an extremely high healing. Anytime they're able to spam out their heals, they do a lot. So definitely a lot of work there to be done with that dampening. Going to be reducing some of that hybrid healing. You know, see Saz actually getting a Blessing of Protection there. Was in a bit of a sticky situation. Drainer bailed him out there, but he is only playing that single Blessing of Protection, so he's not going to have that. There's no sacrifice as well, so there's actually an opening here on Bakka. He might need to use his Astral Shift. If they can get that Astral Shift, they could potentially set something up onto Bakka, but Cara on his wings right now, getting super crowd control, getting Ring of Frosted, getting sheeped. The Earth Elemental is sheeped as well. Saza again, nicely done there with those peels. And now he's going to look to set something up here. You can see the positioning of these two wizards. They just drag Cara to one side, drag Nerdrage to the other side, and they're basically just having a solo 1v1 between the Ellie and the Warrior and the Mage. And right now, once again, Saza here going for the Dragon's Breath, going for the Sheeps, trying to buy some distance here. They get a nice Hex actually onto Cara, and that's going to allow Saza to get a little bit of breathing room. He finally snags a Sheep here onto Tana, but Cara is out of crowd control. Cara should have no problems here. One Word of Glory should be enough to keep Nerdrage nice and topped right there, and he is going to be able to recover. Tana now out of crowd control and should be able to pick up those heals as well. Now Nerdrage and Cara looking to get offensive onto Saza here once again.
All right, let's see if they can stay aggressive with that Storm Bolt, getting knocked away and having a tough time reconnecting. Cara stuck in that Frost Nova, still slowed up, dispelled into the slow, but tossing out some off fields. You see defensive Ring of Frost drop down. Drainer's going to preemptively drop a Sacrifice. He's been using that cooldown more or less to just reduce mana cost rather than getting effective value from the cooldown. So it's an interesting strategy change. Usually you want to line up those cooldowns with Avenging Wrath and stop kills from happening. But he's confident in his ability to heal through the damage, that he wants to use that to just save his mana and save his resources for what is expected to be the long game. Bakka gets caught behind the pillar here in a Storm Bolt, though, thunderstorming Cara away. And they may regret using that Sacrifice earlier on onto the Mage, as Bakka is trying to retreat with Frost Nova and some assistance, but that Unbound Freedom Bladestorm is allowing them to reconnect quite rapidly. He's fishing for Stormkeeper. He's going to trade Astral Shift. And now there's actually a big opening. Avenging Wrath is up for Cara. There's no Sacrifice. There's no Astral Shift. These are the main damage reduction cooldowns. They've polymorphed Cara and they've stunned Nerdrage with Dispel on cooldown. That was a clutch setup here by Creed, trying to take down the Warrior once again. But they need to stay aggressive. If they can stay on top of Bakka right now, there's an opportunity. They're actually going after Saza. I really want to see them switch targets. Go after Bakka. He's the most vulnerable member at the moment. Drainer needs to get interrupted, but they just can't stop these Holy Lights. Drainer's getting so many Holy Lights out of range and preventing a ton of damage. Nice removal of that Hex on Saza. Really pressuring Tana away and back to the pillar. They are ahead on mana if Creed can maintain this positioning. So while I was critical of Bakka's legendary build, the advantage it does bring is that they may be able to win on mana and overall scoreboard damage. So if they can make that strategy work, then it's definitely a good option. So far, so good for Creed. They survived that vulnerable moment. Saza is still just kiting. Big blast of damage in onto Cara. Tana actually may need to consider drinking. He's doing a good job maintaining his water shield. We see him activating that here. His Mana Tide Totem. He's really got to get effective value out of this mana regeneration if he wants to go toe-to-toe with Drainer.
Yeah, and I mean, at this point, Tana is now into a full polymorph. Bakka still under fire, though, throwing in some healing surges. It gets interrupted. Now Flesh Crafting. Definitely getting full value out of that Necrolord Covenant ability. 20% dampening at this point of the game. And this is kind of where sparks are going to start flying for both of these teams. And at this point, it's really important that Drainer can actually recover his mana. If he can sit down and drink, that 20% dampening, totally reset his mana, that's going to bode very well for his team. One thing I want to talk about a little bit as well is normally when we see these kind of matchups, I mean, Cowana Gaming, they fought a lot against the... Whoa, big damage on Nerdrage. Might get dropped. Do they have the healing to actually keep him alive? This is a nice setup. Hammer of Justice on Bakka. Cooldown's coming in. You're going to have to table that thought for just 1 second. Nerdrage does get topped off, but this is his avatar. Drainer definitely has to play catch-up at this point of the game. Bakka trades out his Astral Shift. Major defensive cooldown, still just on the run. Gonna need some help, but using this fence very expertly. Saza finally there with the Frost Nova. Does he have any polymorphs? Needs to get some crowd control onto Tana. Looks like the Hammer of Justice from Cara. Getting a lot of work done here. Saza looking for a shifting power, resetting his combustion. And once that's active, that's when the game gets really, really scary for Cowana Gaming. I don't know if Drainer's going to have many more opportunities in this match to drink, and that really is the hope for Cowana Gaming, that on this small map, they can limit the drinks. So far, it really hasn't worked out for them too nicely. Drainer ahead on mana at this point. He has been able to sit down for drinks. Bakka with really good kiting. When we see Drainer actually go and try to recover his mana, then it's just been a nightmare matchup for Cowana Gaming so far.
Yeah, but at any moment it could change. We are definitely approaching that territory where anything can happen. Right now, Bakka forced to trade out his trinket there. As I say that, big Divine Toll there from Cara as well. Double Dragon's Breath coming out here is the Sheep. Let's see, who are they going to go after? Combustion on the Nerdrage here. Big damage to trinkets. Trades out his Rallying Cry. I think it's going to be enough. I'm not sure, actually. Nerdrage on 1% HP right there. Gets the trinket and the ascendance from Tana, and this is kind of what we're talking about. Yeah, every single one of these combustions is just going to be more and more deadly the next time that happens. I mean, they don't have anything. It's going to have to be Cara having to use maybe Bubble and spam heal. Honestly, I think if they get the crowd control to Tana and they have combustion, even with Cara spam healing, I think with dampening, it's not going to be enough. So they can definitely take Nerdrage down, and we're starting to see just how unstable this matchup really becomes once you get to that deep dampening territory. And Bakka as well, he had to use his trinket. If he gets stunned behind that pillar, he needs to be extremely careful. You see he popped that Astral Shift there as well, realizing that, hey, if I get stunned, I'm going to be in big trouble. So, and now he's not going to have that Astral Shift as well. So Bakka could get completely eradicated. And the same thing goes for Nerdrage right now, actually taking huge hits there. Here comes the Lightning Lasso, Dragon's Breath onto Tana. Full Sheep gets interrupted there by Cara onto Saza. Nicely done. And now, once again, we're going to see Nerdrage and Cara making their way back to Bakka here. But honestly, Saza has combustion. The next time he lands a Sheep, it could just be game over, Sid.
Yeah, let's see if they can manage to navigate it. Here comes some big damage. They're trying to bait a cooldown prior to the combustion. They're not finding the bait. Tennis is so far behind on mana, dampening at almost 40% here. It's going to be a long slog of a fight between these two teams, and if they can't win on their best map, it could just be game over. Nerdrage trades Dive of the Sword, but combustion is still rolling. Insane pressure coming out here on a Nerdrage. Can Cara help Tana heal Nerdrage here, or will Creed move to match point? They have to drop the Spirit Link Totem. And I think that the next combustion is easily the end of the game. They might even win prior to that point. There's just been endless pressure. They're trying to stay on target, stay on Bakka, get a kill here on hook point, use the small map to their advantage, but they're working with very little at the moment. Primordial Wave out from Bakka, resetting the Flame Shock, trying to develop pressure. Cross crowd control, Nerdrage has to trinket, he's in trouble. Cara is trying to help him out, healing him while Tana is crowd control. Tana doesn't feel comfortable breaking out of it with the medallion, but Nerdrage is still just getting blasted at the moment. Bakka fishing for hexes here, maybe trying to bait some interrupts, not committed to it. Insane damage out of nowhere from Cowana, netting an ice block from Saza and putting themselves back in the game.
Really important that they get that ice block. There's just no way that it's going to rotate back up here for Saza. 45% dampening. Now they actually have a clear win condition. Saza can get taken down. Cara going to be turning his attention back over onto Bakka. And maybe this game isn't going too bad. However, combustion is available. Cara's going to have to be very careful. He might have to be the one that actually saves Nerdrage here in this next setup, but I don't know if it's going to be enough. At 47% dampening, Saza's going to be using his combustion, but it doesn't look like it's just getting too much value here. I think it actually got purged off there by Tana. Unfortunately for Creed, that is a huge loss of damage now, but they might not even need it. Nerdrage getting bursted down. A full Sheep lands. Nicely done there by Saza. At the same time, Drainer caught into a Hammer of Justice. Saza could be in a little bit of trouble as Nerdrage still just focusing on offense, but he just leaps in. He's throwing caution to the wind. He's got the Dive by the Sword. They're just going pure offense, but it looks like Saza should be able to survive. And now Bakka's actually going to be pushing in to just continue the assault here with a Lightning Lasso wrangling up Nerdrage for a win. Can they find a win? Big heals coming in from Tana with that Ascendance. Cowana Gaming recover. Now actually going after Bakka. This game is getting scary for Creed.
Very, very scary situation here for Creed. Bakka down to 30% HP. He's got the Astral Ship. Once that fades, I think he could just go down here. Cara had to use his Divine Shield there. Nerdrage has to trade out his Die by the Sword. Both of these teams throwing all their cooldowns, just spamming them. We got Drainer as well, using his Sacrifice. There is the Hammer of Justice onto Cara. Big Lightning Lasso onto Nerdrage. Tana, how are you going to keep him alive? He cannot. He does no Spirit Link, no bubble there, no nothing. And Cowana Gaming are going to be dropped here in game number 2. Creed takes it and move on to match point.
You can just see how confident this team is now. Creed has come a long way from sort of this oddball team that was just running a bunch of unique compositions to now being able to flex into meta compositions, which is a big threat because they've got like their one foot in the side of just the meta, and then they've got another foot in the experimentation side, so you never really know fully what to expect from them. They're increasingly becoming a bigger and bigger threat for the European region, and the Ret Warriors obviously not going to work here, having not been able to win on their best map. I think it's time to bring out Niksi.
You are totally right, Supatees. The first time we saw Creed from recently here in the circuit, these guys have improved so much. They just get more solid as the weeks go by, consistently getting better. And here they are, like you said, they play things that are very off meta and then things that are very meta, and they're just showing that flexibility within their team. They've got, they've picked up a 4th as well recently, and these guys are kind of looking pretty unstoppable here, and they are going to do, I feel like they're going to be giving Skill Capped a run for their money in the European finals. But we're seeing Cowana kind of struggle here in this series, already down 2 games on match point. Also, here's that breakdown from game number 2 on Hook Point.
Yeah, and I mean, we're going to see here the last couple of moments in the game, but when it comes down to Saza is able to land those solo CCs onto Tana, and they were able to ride that pressure pretty hard here. They're able to get that offensive bubble here onto Cara. He just smells blood in the water, and Drainer, of course, denies it there with the Sacrifice, comes off Bakka here, and that offensive Divine Shield didn't net them the kill. And now at this point, you're going to see Saza here go for the Dragon's Breath, go for the damage onto Nerdrage here with that Lightning Lasso, with the Combustion, and there's just no more cooldowns. So there's no instant kind of panic buttons, we like to call them. And the damage is just going to be enough. You don't even need the crowd control there.
Yeah, no crowd control at all. I mean, Tana did such a good job. If you look at his positioning, he actually did such a good job maneuvering around the pillar, making it really difficult for Saza to get that crowd control, but it's just the nature of this matchup. If Creed can get deep enough into dampening, Tana just cannot heal through the pressure, and that's what we saw.
Well, Cowana Gaming not able to make it work on the Grand or Hook Point. It's going to be their map choice once again for this 3rd game, for game number 3. What options then, Zico, do they turn to at this point?
I mean, for Cowana, the only thing we've ever seen is Ret Rogue, so I guess we're going to see Ret Rogue. But I don't know if Ret Rogue is... I mean, I'm always down to see the Ret Rogue, but I don't know if I'm that strong of a believer against Mage Ellie. I don't know. I think, it's going to be tough. Anytime the Ret moves in, it's very telegraphed. Like, as the Mage, if you're not targeted, you can just sheep him and sheep him again, and that's it. Their go is kind of over, and then you can get offensive. So I don't know. I feel like the Ret Rogue is going to be tough, but they did look really good when they played it yesterday. And I mean, one thing's for sure: if you can't win with Ret Warrior, which is your main comp on the best map for it on Hook Point, you're not going to win with Ret Warrior. Period. You're not going to set up a better game than the one you just had if you're Cowana. So even if you're not that confident in the Ret Rogue being able to win, at least you already know the result and you're trying out something new. So for them, I think that's what we're going to see. My question would be, are we going to see Holy Priest, Disc Priest, Resto Shaman? What healer do they want to roll with?
All right, well, we're seeing them lock in Blackrock Hold, but you're right. We saw Cowana Gaming play this composition, Ret Rogue against Method EU yesterday. They had a little bit of a success there. They did not win that series. Of course, Method EU not playing the LE, though, and Creed going to be sticking with that same comp. Not really much of a surprise there, as they are pretty solid right now here in this series against Cowana, and now we are going to see what they want to lock in. But what about you, Ven? Any comment on that? Is it the healer that they need to switch up, or is it something else within the comp here on Blackrock?
This play, Ret Rogue. Honestly, if they lock in the Warrior, I think they're just... I mean, to be honest, this is a really difficult matchup for them. I think the Elemental Shaman Fire Mage kind of just has Cowana Gaming covered. They've kind of run into a matchup where it seems like, you know, their comps are not very good. But the Warrior definitely didn't look good. All basically Creed has to do is survive. And I mean, if you're just focused on defense as the Fire Mage, Elemental Shaman, Paladin, it is really difficult to actually get a kill for Cowana Gaming. Constantly being shut down by Dragon's Breath, Hexes, Lightning Lasso, Polymorph, Drainer just drinking the entire game. Creed know exactly how to play it to actually get to that point where they just win with damage. They don't even need crowd control whatsoever. And if you're Cowana Gaming, you can get one shot throughout the entire match, and then at a certain point, you just can't heal anymore. So, I mean, what really is their win condition? They have to stop Drainer. I mean, it's a lot easier said than done when you're just constantly on the back foot. You're a deer in headlights, like Subati said. You're just worried about getting one shot from the Fire Mage. Okay, if we go after Drainer, Dragon's Breath Sheep on our healer. Okay, now we have to run again. Drainer's sitting down, and it just gets to the point where you cannot shut it down. So I think Cowana Gaming, they got to mix it up. I really hope they bring in Niksi on that Assassination Rogue. Although it's probably still not the best matchup for them, I think just the fact that it's a bit more wild card and a bit less kind of scripted, I think will work out better for them. And they are going to go with it. And I think Niksi did such a good job in their series yesterday. And I expect him to really show up for his team here against Creed.
Okay. Here we are. We have the compositions for both teams. Creed only one win away from winning this series right here, 3-0. That would put them even closer behind Skill Cap Gaming in the overall standings. And if you're watching from home right now, just put yourself in Cowana Gaming's shoes. I mean, these guys have been having extremely long games. They have yet to win a game in this series. They can't really do much against this comp, as we've already seen, and they're struggling right now. So the mental headspace that they have to be in has to be on point. They can't let things like this get to them, especially on game number 3 as they go, when they only have one chance left, really.
Yeah, I mean, for them, it's make it or break it. And honestly, not to get ahead of ourselves here, but Cowana in 7th right now, I believe, in the standings.
Yep.
And I mean, for Cowana, if you lose this game, I mean, not to count anybody out, but I feel like it's pretty safe to count them out at that point. I think it depends, of course, on how the other games play out as well, but I feel like at least at that point, your fate is no longer in your own hands. So for Cowana, they need every single win they can get. They're down 2 games. They're playing something that they're not super comfortable into the Mage Alley with, and they need to somehow get a reverse sweep. It's a tough road ahead of them for sure. Creed just looking super solid right now on that Mage Alley. They're playing the defense great. They're setting up the kills. They're getting their damage off, and they're playing to their win conditions and not really giving out any openings. So if Creed can continue to do that, I expect them to kind of walk away with a 3-0 here. But we can never really count anybody out. These are world-class players. Niksi won BlizzCon, Cara won BlizzCon back in 2017. So definitely can't count anybody out. And I mean, just in our previous series with Reload Esports versus Ad Hoc, we saw delay get tagged in and then able to reverse sweep there. So maybe Niksi can do the same thing. He definitely has the skill for it, but it's going to be a tough road ahead.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we'll have to see what they do here, if Niksi is able to turn this series around for Cowana Gaming. But I mean, you're absolutely right. These teams, they have BlizzCon winners on their roster, and that just goes to show how high the level of competition is in this European region. This is the 7th seeded team out of 8 teams in this region, and these guys are still insane as a team together. Very, very high skilled. Has been around in the AWC scene for quite some time as well. And we are still seeing them in the 7th place. So that just goes to show just how high skilled and high class this entire region is when we have series such as this. But Creed close to winning this one, 3-0. We'll see what they can do here in Blackrock Hold, or is Cowana Gaming going to turn this one around?
I mean, definitely going to have to wait and see. I feel like right now, Creed, they're looking good. They have the composition, and I think that's one of the surprising things about Creed at the beginning. They kind of came in, one composition. It was a bit gimmicky. They still made it work, but now incredibly well-rounded. They got the caster cleaves. They got the melee cleaves. Bringing in Bakka just gave them so many different options, and I don't know. This team is definitely looking like a force to be reckoned with. Cowana Gaming, they've struggled a little bit. At the beginning, it was all about their Ret Warrior Shaman, and I mean, there's a good argument to be made that they're the best Ret Warrior Shaman in Europe. However, that composition has fallen off. A lot of the teams in the top 8 have an answer for it, and I think some of these Ret Warrior teams have kind of struggled to adapt, struggled to make some changes, and come up with a different answer. Hopefully for Cowana Gaming, Niksi coming in on that Assassination Rogue, a bit of a wild card there. You don't really see too many teams playing the Assassination Rogue, Retribution Paladin, but they've made it work in the past. Can they do it again against Creed? They're basically going to have to. They're in a really tough spot. They need this win, and if they don't, I feel like there's just no hope for them in the future.
You know, there's questions, I feel like, every time we see this comp of why it's called Scooby-Doo Cleave. Does anyone want to make the noise?
Just
do the thing?
Oh, Retro. Retro.
Yeah, but yeah, that's why Retro, you know, if you haven't seen Scooby-Doo, hopefully you have, but it's something we haven't really seen too much of.
You know, I didn't get that first because in Sweden,
really,
in Sweden, Scooby-Doo is translated to Swedish, and they don't do that. So I was just going along with it for the longest time when they started calling it Scooby-Doo Cleave, and then I was like, oh, okay, that's why. Yeah, I knew that.
Yeah, that's okay.
All right.
We'll forgive you.
Cowana Gaming need to renew for a new season here. Down 2 points already. Match point. It's still not a good matchup. As a melee cleave, Ellie Mage is your kryptonite. That's the scariest thing in the game. Myself personally, I'd almost rather just leave the game before fighting it. So let's see if Cowana Gaming can battle it back here. It's going to be a brutal slog if they want to reverse sweep. But we saw earlier today, Reload Esports already have a reverse sweep. So the possibility is there, but maybe not. Maybe not. What is that? How much HP was that? Was that even a number?
Yeah,
that didn't look like a number.
Health.
I mean, this is not good.
You couldn't
if
see
you're
it.
Cowana Gaming, this is okay. Deer in the headlights is a good analogy here, I think. And Cara is still just taking a ton of damage. They're going to lose out on some of that warrior durability and disruption with the Assassination Rogue. And being down your Divine Shield not even a minute into the game.
Yeah, 30 seconds into the game, you're 1% health, Divine Shield comes in. And that's the thing. I mean, this is what I've been trying to say, is the game can and most likely will go into deep dampening, but you can also just lose in 30 seconds to getting one shot. So you have to be on point the entire time. You can't be sleeping until dampening. Yeah, because, I mean, at this point, they really have to put out a lot of pressure. In addition to that, they need to avoid this massive Elemental Shaman Fire Mage burst damage. Saza going to be retreating to the room, maybe looking for a shifting power. No, just buying a little bit of time. Look at Drainer across the map, going for drinks. And this is what I'm talking about. Creed has been so impressive with their ability to just kite and stall out the game when Drainer wants to get mana. And as a result, they always have mana going into the late game, which is just so crucial for the squad.
Yeah, a very nice setup here about to happen onto Cara once again. Dragon's Breath onto Tana, full sheep. Gets interrupted by the Hammer of Justice. Cara able to stop this one. Bakka in a kidney shot. Cara now going to make his way over there. He gets sheeped again. And now their go is kind of over. Now Saza here has reset his combustion as well. So the next time Saza can land a crowd control onto Tana, it is going to be a big hit of damage, presumably onto Cara. So definitely opportunity to get Tana's Trinket Spirit Link in this next push here, if they can set it up, but it doesn't look like it right now. Saza is still in a kidney shot, taking a lot of damage here. Drainer, though, powering through with the sacrifice there, and spamming out the heals, keeping his mage nice and topped and aggressive here. Drainer now in a Hammer of Justice. They're going after Bakka here. Big damage there from Cara. Flashcraft comes up, gets interrupted. Drainer drops back off, though, with one single heal there, and that was the combustion of Saza there. Just kind of using it rotationally there, as he wasn't able to find any crowd control. Now he's going for the crowd control, but he doesn't have the combustion anymore, and instead Cara is going to escape. They're going to go after Niksi, and Niksi actually stuck in a Hammer of Justice, does get sanctuaried out of it, gets the feint nicely done, and that was also a defensive blind there being thrown at Saza, so we can kind of expect here what's going to happen. This game is going to go a very, very long time. You can tell already by the dampener blind that Niksi just did there.
Yeah, let's see if they can make it there. The Divine Shield is coming off cooldown despite being a 4-minute cooldown. Cara has not spiked as low as he did within the first couple seconds of the match since then, and is likely to have that defensive cooldown. Mana in favor of Drainer, so this is looking better and better for Creed. They're setting up for the win here. Lightning Lasso on Cara around the corner. Not enough damage to KO. Now Tana in a polymorph though. Cara trying to heal himself back up with Word of Glory, using that Unbound Freedom, trying to disrupt the polymorphs, get Tana out of crowd control and get aggressive. Thunderstorm on the kidney shot, but Cara is still in pursuit. Here comes the Divine Toll. Big crack of the Templar's Verdict, as well as that Wake of Ashes, but Drainer was ready for it, healing through it with the Avenging Wrath quite easily. They could swap to Niksi too at any point, although they seem dead set on killing Cara here. Hammer of Justice, Lightning Bolt's coming in. Tana looks ready, keeping Cara at a healthy margin of health at this point. Combustion still available. Where is Saza going to attack with that? Not a lot of juicy targets at the moment. They're going to have to soften up somebody on the team here, with Cara having Divine Shield for a second time in this game. He's going to have that as an answer, although he'd used it at sub 1% health or something like that. So maybe he just dies without being able to even use it if they can set this up correctly.
Yeah, right now we see Cara retreating to the pillar, so just trying to avoid a little bit of damage. Niksi trying to get some pressure rolling here with his Vendetta. This is a huge hit of damage. Where is the damage, though? Saza's just going to be blinking away, using that Shimmer to relocate. Kara's actually one that's in trouble, and just gets one shot dropped. Big damage coming in from Saza. That was a combustion. Divine Shield was available, but just not enough time. Creed with dominance, 3-0. They had the composition. Then Cowana Gaming did not have the answers.
That was an absolutely explosive match there, and I mean that's the thing, right? When you're a team that's just running that one singular type of composition, you know, in World of Warcraft we got the melee caster healers, we got the double casters, and we got the double melees. And when you're only kind of running that one version of a comp with those two melees, as soon as you run into something like this, it's just like you kind of run into a brick wall here. And I mean, we're going to see it as well with Saza's combustion here at the end, but it's just such a tough spot for Cowana Gaming because they really are such, you know, melee experts. But if you don't have, you know, a melee caster or something to work with, you're going to find yourselves in these situations where you're just facing a mage alley, they're just running away, and they're setting up these one-shots, and eventually they catch you off guard. You know, in the start, Cara, he bubbles on 1% HP, and this time around, they get a Dispel onto Niksi right there, and then they pop Combustion onto Cara, and they just completely erase him there. I think that was, just a Combustion, and I think Drainer threw in a Judgment there as well, and yeah, that's basically all you need there. That's the setup. Sheep, Rogue gets dispelled. Hammer of Justice, the rat, when he gets dispelled, and it's on cooldown. And if there's no grounding totem, you can basically force a cooldown just from that. So a lot of the time, it's about just getting your damage off and not getting it off at the perfect time. And that's something that Saza was doing a good job of in this matchup.